And welcome to the premier YouTube edition of Meter and the Coach, the maiden voyage. Tim Welsh, we didn't think it was possible, but thanks to our outstanding production crew led by one Angel Martinez, here we are. You're on center stage. It's been a while. How you doing?
I've been on center stage in many, many years. It's good to be back on the center stage, especially with you guys.
Yes, Tim. Yes, sir. You feeling okay about this? You a little shaky? You're good.
I'm absolutely great. I couldn't be at a better point in my life, except that the people around me are miserable as the Celtics went home in round one.
Yeah, we're going to get to that at the end of the show. But without further ado, our first guest on Meter and the Coach, the video edition. This guy really needs no introduction. Long-time college basketball coaching career, terrific college basketball coaching career. He won 57% of his games, which is a heck of a number. And he's now one of the voices of ESPN's college basketball coverage. Seth Greenberg, welcome. How are you?
Any better, I couldn't stand myself. Hung out with Timmy Welsh in Sarasota the other day. I mean, life is good.
There's nothing better than hanging out with one Tim Welsh in Florida, but we're going to get to some of the things that you guys just experienced down there. But Seth, I'll start it out with your coaching career. Let's start there first. And you think back to when you grew up in New York. Did you always know that you wanted to be a coach?
It's interesting. Other people impact your lives. And I still remember going to the five-star basketball camp and sitting and listening to UB Brown and Chuck Daly and going, man, they're moving me. Would that be a pretty cool thing if I could have a career in coaching, not for the money, but more to impact someone else's life? And that camp changed my life. It changed a lot of people's lives. I mean, the five-star basketball camp built a bridge for people to cross, to chase their dreams after their careers were over. And my career was over pretty quick.
No, it was. I disagree with that, but that's okay. We can go there about your college career and your success that you had at South Florida and Virginia Tech. You were two-time ACC Coach of the Year, so that's a heck of a run. I'm sure Tim would comply with that. When you think about your college career, what did you learn about not only yourself but about the kids you coached?
I started at Long Beach State, took over for Joe Harrington, who went to Colorado. And the first thing I learned as a first year head coach is that you can't do everything. You got to be good at something. And fortunately, they gave me a second year, and I had really good players: Lucius Harris, Brian Russell, guys played 24 years in the NBA. Uh, but really, just get good at something, have an identity, and be the hardest playing, toughest team. Get a group of guys that get lost in each other, and lost in the game, get lost in winning, because that's the most important thing. And I've been very, very fortunate. Long Beach State was great. My wife's from California. We were there for 9 years. South Florida was hard. They just started football when I became the head coach there, so there were a lot of moving parts. And I still regret I kind of never figured out exactly how to win there. We just recruited in-state players, and I needed a couple of kids that maybe were outside state that a little more skilled at that time. And then Virginia Tech was just a great opportunity. The program was as bad as you could be. Never been to the Big East tournament. Uh, we were able to recruit some good players, develop an identity, play really hard, and move from the Big East, where they never been to the Big East tournament, to winning a game in the tournament, to going into the ACC, where we were picked for last the first year. We beat Duke and ended up coming in fourth place, and got to buy in the ACC tournament 5 of the 7 years. So real proud of that. But nothing lasts forever. And I learned a good lesson, and Tim can probably agree with this, Timmy boy. You better kiss your ass or your AD, because if not, eventually they're going to get you.
Seth, you talk about coaching and your career, and obviously some of our best friends were with us down at the Dick Vitale Gala over the weekend, and Tom Izzo, John Calipari, Fran McCaffrey, Kelvin Sampson, Gino Auriemma, the old guard, still hanging in there, and guys that you and I think a lot alike with. But looking at today's younger generation of coaches, how would you describe them and their journey coming up, and what advice would you give them?
I think it's interesting. They've embraced the new world of college athletics. And if you don't embrace it, then you have no chance to survive. You know, you have a guy like Izzo and Sampson and Rick Barnes and those type of guys, they have had their career, and they're just going to stay true to their core beliefs and non-negotiable. For a young guy, you've got to embrace the new world. You've got to be cutting edge. You've got to obviously establish relationship with agents. You got to establish relationships with runners. You got to establish relationships with the grassroots people. You've got to work your way around that circle of influence where, like, say, Calipari and those guys, right, they've done it and they're going to do it their way. The one thing I would recommend these young coaches is coach your team. After the business of college basketball, after all that stuff's done, you get them on campus, there's got to be core beliefs and non-negotiable. There's got to be standards. You've got to demand that they become winning players, play to their strengths, be good teammates, and be part of the solution. And that's the biggest thing. I watch a lot of these young guys when I go around and watch practices, and they say, well, if I coach them too hard, they might transfer. If you don't coach them hard and help them get better, they can't help you win anyway. So coach your team. And at the end of the year, if they decide to leave, you go in one direction, they go in the other direction, you're going to be fine because you'll get the next guy. But the thing that Tom and Cal and Kelvin, Gino, those guys just have stayed true to their identity. And they're true to being coaches, teachers, mentors. They've been true to holding their players accountable. And by the way, by doing those things, they're helping build a bridge for those kids to cross when basketball's gone. Because they'll have a work ethic. They'll understand how to connect with other people. They'll be accountable and responsible. They'll be better husbands and fathers. So, like, you can't run from everything. You can't transfer 5 times in 5 years and expect all of a sudden when you enter the real world, you're going to be committed. So I have so much respect for those guys. They're doing it at the very highest level. They're Hall of Fame coaches. They're Hall of Fame people. But more importantly, Tim, they're changing lives. I'm not sure guys go to 5 schools in 5 years. Those coaches are changing anyone's life.
That's a great point. And, you and I have talked about it at length. And, every day some new story comes out. It just blows your mind. And you and I most recently were talking about the cost of a roster in college basketball. And it's blowing all of our minds. I mean, we heard about the $20 million cap for all sports, and we knew that would go right out the window, and it did. And we heard Sean Miller talking about the cost of a roster at Texas recently and all SEC schools. What's your take on that, and what's the end game?
That's interesting.
If there is one.
Right now, we've got to have some type of guidelines. I don't know if it's a salary cap. I don't know. But the whole idea of the clearinghouse and the $20.5 million, that's a freaking joke. I mean, like, guys have paid $20 million for a quarterback. I mean, give me a break. I mean, Sean Miller said that we've got 25 to 30, 20 plus $1 million rosters. Think about that. Like, they're paying guys that if they didn't play college basketball, they'd be in the G League or in Europe for about 100,000 to 300,000 a year. Why do you think all these European guys are coming over? They're coming over because they were making 20,000 a month, 2,000 a month, 5,000 a month. Now these dudes are getting paid $2 million. And I'm all for guys getting paid. But we need guidelines. It starts with the portal. Name me, look, I love Jay Billings. And he says, it's always been professional sports. Well, Jay, if it's professional sports, name me another professional sport where there's year-to-year free agency. Name me one. Just name me one. There isn't any. There's got to be guidelines. And I don't want to hear, well, coaches can leave and go year to year. First of all, yeah, all right, Will Wade did it. Brian Hodgson did it. There are 2,000 kids in the portal. There's 50-something coaches that changed job. And all those guys had contracts. And all those contracts had buyouts. Come on, man. Like, you can't have it both ways. You know what? There is a cost of doing business. I understand. But, like, when we talk about comparing a guy who's a lifetime coach who started as GA and doing laundry and mopping floors, Ben McCullum, say, and then we're going to compare him to a 17 or 18-year-old. It's just not right. Because as a head coach, and Tim, you know it, you were incredibly successful. You're the head coach. You're an educator. You're a mentor. You're the university's best fundraiser. You're the face of the institution. You're being pulled in 18,000 different ways. You're held accountable for winning, graduation. Oh, wait a second. Are they still held accountable for graduation? I don't know, because no one ever talks about graduation. To me and you, it was important to see a young person walk across that stage, earn a degree, and have a foundation for life. So the world has changed, but these new guys are really good. I mean, I look at John Shire, he's got an understanding of the new business of college basketball. And that's across the landscape with a lot of these young guys.
Coach Seth Greenberg, let's talk a little bit about the New England head coaching jobs. Tim and I close to both. Brian Hodson at Providence, Luke Murray at BC. Those two jobs clearly popped when those names were announced by the respective administrations. What do you think of both those hires?
I think they're terrific hires. Brian Hudson has his style and identity of how he wants to play. He recruits to that style. He's relentless. He's not afraid. He's going to get his guys to play really hard and buy in. He connects with his guys. He's done a great job, in the portal. Tim, you imagine you giving all that money to recruit in the portal? You'll be sitting here talking with me. I know that, because you would have had some dudes.
Some dudes, there's no doubt about it. And you gotta have the backing, and you gotta have the administration behind you. But you also, Seth, to jump in and be smart about it. I mean, we've seen lots of guys go places, and you've texted me, and whether watching a game, and the names of guys playing $3 million and not running back on defense. And I'll say it on the broadcast, and he'll text me, and you said, and he won't set a screen, and he won't pass the ball, but he's on his fifth school in 5 years, and he's making $3 million a year. I mean, how do you look at that as far as, how to not only getting the money and spending the money, but spending it properly?
That's the key. I mean, Nick Saban said it best. You sign the wrong guys, and you're shit out of luck, because you've got to put up a value for every player in your pro. And once they sign, they've got to buy into winning. But I think evaluation is the most underrated part of recruiting. I think all these guys, I don't want someone else evaluating a player for me. I want to know who can play for the head coach. The assistant coaches have to know who can play for the head coach. And people are spending money and millions of dollars on dudes that have never won. I mean, there are guys in the portal that have signed for another $2 million that have made $2 million a year for the last 3 years that never won. So, like, evaluating, recruiting into your system, getting guys to buy into being competitive, tough, winning players, that's the key. It's not about acquiring talent. It's about acquiring talent that fits, that plays for each other, and that winning is the most important thing. And then if everyone wins, Cal would always say, everyone eats. So Brian's done a good job with that. Luke will do a great job evaluating, getting skilled, tough players, guys who can make shots. But BC's got to make a choice. They change coaches every 3-4 years. There's a reason. There's a cost of doing business. And they haven't given those coaches the resources to go out and field a competitive roster. So the people in the administration of BC, Get off your ass and give these coaches the resources they need to compete in their leagues. Plain and simple.
No, I think that's going to improve, and I think they've proven. I think even with the hire of Luke Murray, that the commitment was made. I think you see a lot of schools now; they're going to have to do that to compete. And in terms of South Florida school, you know very well at USF, is that school just a stepping stone now for coaches? Is that's a place you go to for a launching point for another job?
I don't think so. If they get in the ACC, which is their goal, their AD is my former manager, Rob Higgins, and he's got a grand vision for what USF athletics will be. They're building their football stadium right on campus. They're investing a significant amount of money in football and basketball and women's basketball. They've done really well in the Olympic sport. There's money in that community. So, yeah, if they stay in the American, if you do a really good job, there's a good chance you're going to get a better job. But the vision for USF, similar to maybe what UCF did moving to the Big 12, is bigger than the American Conference, in my opinion. And if they get to that next level, it's a good job.
Yes, Seth, talking about the your relationship with the athletic directors. We talked about it a little bit, and the general manager. And I heard you talk about it on one of your morning walk and talks. I thought it was great. And you kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier about the job of the general manager. In NBA, the coach works for the GM, but in college basketball, I think that role can be a little bit confusing to some people on the outside who don't really understand what the GM of a college basketball team really does.
Yeah, this isn't the NBA. This is college athletics. And the head coach is the head coach, the director of player personnel, and the decision maker, not the owner and not the GM. The GM's role in college basketball is to understand the budget, to communicate with the agents and find out the potential values so the head coach can come in and either close the deal or not close the deal, and then bring video and information and background to the head coach and the coaching staff to decide who can play for that head coach and let the head coach decide, watching film, understanding the value request, and saying, is this a good investment or a bad investment? The GM's not responsible for selecting the players that's going to be on the roster. That's bullshit. And any GM who thinks he's doing that, say, I'm going to get you the players, you coach the team, that head coach will be gone in a year. You're going to tell Danny Hurley who's going to be on his team and then go coach him? Come on, man. You're going to tell John Calipari, John Shire, who's going to be on their team? Here, I get you these guys, go coach them. And guys that think their role is to do that and they're the president and owner of the team, they are delusional. Absolutely delusional. And I'll leave it at that.
Interesting thoughts there, Seth. Your broadcasting career, where you've come from and now where you are, it's been a meteoric rise for you. Great work in the studio, great work as an analyst. What have you learned about being an ESPN broadcaster?
I get the best seat in the house for the best games. I work with really unselfish people. Like our studio crew, and I say this all the time, they're the most selfless people at ESPN because all they want you to do is have a good show. That's all. Whether it's the researchers, the producers, the directors, or everyone that surrounds our programs, whether it's game day or a halftime. Those guys work incredibly hard. I mean, you're talking about a halftime is 6 minutes. They take so much pride in those 6 minutes. I had no idea what went into TV. I know we showed up for a game. We talked to the crew. They watched us practice. And I went and coached my game. And there's so much that surrounds the game. I have so much respect for those people. I just talk ball. Like in the studio, they ask you a question, just like you guys are asking, or Timmy, if I'd ask Timmy a question, and you just talk ball. Timmy does an amazing job on games. The game tells a story. He's sitting there watching that game through the prism of a guy that has 300, 400 wins. All right, so he sees the game differently than anyone else, including a player, because he sees all these situations and he knows a little bit of what's going on in that coach, what he's going to give, what he's going to take away, how he's going to guard that action, how deep he wants to go in his bench, how he wants to get to an 8-man rotation, uh, just basically the flow of the game. So what I've learned is just be myself.
Yep.
Like, and that's good and bad. And you can get yourself in trouble and piss people off, or like, if you let that bother you, so be it. Like, I'm not going to worry about someone taking a swing at me and a shot at me if it's a person I wouldn't go to for advice. Like, if Tim was pissed off me, I'd pick up the phone and say, Tim, what's up? But I'm not going to worry about these other people. I'm going to tell the truth. I have no agenda. Zero. Nada. Nothing. My best friends, their teams play poorly. I say they play poorly. And I say why. So, I mean, just be yourself, be honest, be true. The game tells a story, and the team's seasons tell a story. And that's all I try to do.
Yeah, you just hit on one word. Tell me the why. I tell it to
Yeah.
Tim. Tim and I talk about it all the time. I'm a play-by-play guy. I tell my analyst, if I haven't worked with them before, I say, I'm the who guy. You're the why guy. You
Yeah.
can see things that, as you just said, that I can't see, that the audience can't see. That's why you're successful, Seth, as an ESPN basketball analyst, because you're telling me the why. I don't need to know anything else except that.
Yeah. I'm not into numbers. I mean, do you know what a QBR is?
I
Can you
do, but
calculate it for me?
no, I can't calculate it.
All right. So, either that guy reads the defense or he doesn't. Either throws too many interceptions or he doesn't.
Right.
He fumbles the ball or he doesn't. In our sport, like, can you get a good shot? Can you stop your opponent from getting a good shot? Can you take care of the basketball? Can you turn your opponent over? Can you get to the offensive glass, or are you giving up people uh, offensive rebounds? So,
Yep.
we make it too difficult. Shot quality. If I get a better shot than my opponent, if I force them to shoot contested shots and I'm shooting open shots, if I get to the glass and I can keep them off the glass, like, I have a thing called the art of the upset. Don't let the other team's best player beat you. Can't beat you. End of the game, he can't get a shot. Right? Got to win the turnover game. You got to own the tempo and identity of the game. Limit them to one shot and then have someone step up at the end of the game. Real simple. Real simple.
Seems like it. To wonder why it doesn't happen more often. Michigan's success this year, were you surprised by that?
No, because they treated the preseason like a bunch of guaranteed games. Excluding the Duke game, I mean, what they did during the preseason was ridiculous. Their point differential was ridiculous. The three bigs, a lot of people are going small ball 4.
Yeah.
They went big. And Yaxel was a matchup problem. Mara was a matchup problem at the rim. They had enough depth in their backcourt. The job they did with Elliot Cadeau was terrific. So, no, I mean, they were the most dominant team during the course of the season. Now, did I think Arizona might have a shot? Yeah. Did I think UConn, who actually had a shot, might have been a little bit better? But, I mean, Danny going to the final game 3 or 4 years is crazy. Crazy.
Tim, go ahead.
I think Tim's offline. There he is, my
Back?
boy.
There he is. Tim, you back?
We're back.
All
Yeah.
right, go ahead.
First, well, Seth, I wanted to talk to you. Obviously, you were at the Final Four, and you've seen UConn over the years and how awesome they've been, and their style of play. And then, of course, Michigan this year was so impressive. But I watched the NBA playoffs, and the game has changed so much. But I don't think the college game has changed in that direction. You could still have a post player. You can still go down low. You can still use the clock and share the ball. What's your evaluation of where the game is now, where where it was 10 years ago because the guys are more skilled now, but still the coaching is the coaching, and offensive basketball is still kind of the same as it's always been.
Yeah, I think college basketball a lot of times mimics the NBA, but the NBA has turned a little more European until the playoffs because the playoffs is just a rock fight. It's either five out, double gap, drive, kick, force closeouts, or if you try to run offense, if you can't play ahead of defense, good luck coming off a wide pin down because you could be bear hugged coming off that wide pin down. I mean, the physicality in the playoffs and the regular season, it's two different games. I mean, it's absolutely two different games. Having said the college game, there's more variety in how people play. Uh, a good coach looks at the team and says, "Who are we and how do we win? What's our identity to give us the best chance to be successful?" And you see that happening. I think the players are skilled, spacing's better. I think too many teams shoot threes that can't shoot threes, but that's part of recruiting and style of play. But I think our game is really healthy. I think it's really healthy. We have more freedom of movement in the NCAA tournament we haven't had in the past. But I still think we need physicality in our game. Like I would never beat Duke and Carolina and Kansas and the people we were fortunate to beat if we weren't able to guard. That's the equalizer. Disrupting a team's rhythm, owning the tempo of the game, owning the pace of the game. All those things we have a better chance to do in the college game. So coaching is important. Uh, I like our game where it is now. I think there's flow to our game. There's much better flow. It's not bring it down, run it, pull it out, high spread ball screen. I think people are playing with more concepts and more spacing and more flow and more force in terms of putting pressure on the defense, swing, and then get into an action. So I like where our game is right now. But I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge Knicks fan. Sorry, Tim. I mean, I grew up, I was there when Willis came out of the tunnel. I was there in the last row of Madison Square Garden, my bar mitzvah gift. I mean, that's what it was. And so I grew up loving the Knicks. But watching the playoffs, excluding the transition stuff, if the game gets to the half court, it's either spread, double gap, drive, kick, sprint out, drag, ball screen with four out. It's not as much fun to watch. They got to find a balance so that the game has some flow.
Yeah, also the 3-point game too, Seth. We hear it a lot in
Yes.
Boston. Celtics so over reliant on the three. If they don't hit threes, they don't win. What's your take on where that goes for the NBA specifically?
Well, it's all the analytics. It's like the middle game. If the middle game is gone, like,
Yep.
like here's the thing: you're not always going to get layups, and you're not going to always have 3-point shooters. An open shot is a good shot, and like there are certain guys that have thrived in the middle game. And so, I mean, like the Celtics were built to have to shoot threes this year. Again, I'm not an expert on the Celtics, but Tim, I would ask you, how else could have they played?
No, I mean that's obviously how they're built and how they want to coach too, and how what the organization's philosophy is. But I still
Yeah.
think that you can have good balance, and I think you know Brad Stevens as well as I
Yep.
do, and he wants the best shot, and I think that guys like Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown can have a mix to their game, a better mix.
Yeah.
But I think that they sometimes take the easy way out because it's hard to coach those guys. You know that. $60 million a year, they're going to do what they want to do out there. Most nights it's good enough, but as you said, in the playoffs where the defense gets, you know, turns up the screws, now you got to find other ways to score. And then defensively at times, listen, their roster wasn't very good. All you had to do is look at the
Yeah.
last because of the fact that they had to sell off pieces because of the salary cap and the apron and all that other stuff that they had to go through. But I still think the better players have to find a way to make sure you have better balance to your offense.
I agree. They got to get to the line more. There's just certain things that have to happen, and their roster has to improve. I mean, amazing what Tatum did. Now, look, if Tatum plays that game, maybe they win, and this conversation is moot. but he didn't play. I'm amazed he played as much as he did. Um, and Joe Mazzulla looks like he coaches his team. I mean, he's a high energy guy. I'd love to go this fall and watch a training camp and just see how the interaction is. But the game is different. The NBA, everyone's got to shoot a three. Everyone's got to spread the court. And like the Sixers and the Knicks, like I'm interested to see like Sixers. You play that drop coverage and talk about middle game, you're going to get destroyed because they got a bunch of guys that can get to a spot and pull up. And I know Robinson's a lob threat, so you got to be in drop to take away the lob. And if you tag, then they're skipping, and you might give up a three. But I look at the Sixers; they've got to make some type of adjustment. I think that's the great thing about the playoffs. The one thing I love is you play. You got to win four, so you play 6 or 7 games. The teams that make the right adjustment, not adjustments to make an adjustment, but like what are you going to give? What are you going to take away? What can you live with? Those are the teams that are going to win. And like OKC yesterday against the not a very good Laker game, Laker team. I mean, people go, "Oh, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, he had an off game." No, he didn't. He defended. He facilitated. He had a couple turnovers, but they got a matchup problem. Holmgren's a matchup problem. He runs. He gets to the glass. He can shoot a three. He can finish, around the basket. I mean, OKC's fun to watch because how hard they play defensively.
Well, I think you make great points, and I have been to Celtics camp, and I think Joe does a great job of interacting with the players, of motivating them. I think they play hard for him. They like him and respect him at the same time. But I went to game two, and I'm watching it with my son, and I'm like, wait a minute, Philly's not bad. These
Oh,
guys are NBA players. These guys are pretty good. I mean, and they didn't even have Embiid in game two. But who are you going to take if you're picking up in the park? You got Paul George, you got Maxey, you got Edgecombe. Grimes is a good player. Kelly
yeah,
Oubre's been around forever. The old man Drummond can still play a little bit. He knocks down threes. I mean, they've got guys, and
yeah.
of course, an excellent coach in Nick Nurse. So it's not that big of an upset. I mean, when they went up 3-1, then everyone said, "Well, it's over." But then Embiid was just turning it on, and once he started getting a rhythm, and they really never found a way to defend him, I thought the Celtics were at a big disadvantage.
He's a hard matchup. I mean, he's so versatile. And you're right. When you talk about Maxey and Edgecombe, and I mean, like their roster is good and old in some places. And here's the thing, Tim. Look, you and I did this for a long time. The other guy's trying to win too. The other guy has guys under contract. The other guys has a game plan. The other guys have tried. They're going to play hard. They're not rolling over. They're going, oh no, we play the Celtics. They don't give a crap. They're playing the Celtics. Oh, and by the way, Jason Tatum's not playing in Game 7. Come on, man.
Well, other than those two players, I think the Sixers have better players. Especially, they haven't played together all season long, and you see how good they can be when they all are healthy and on the same page.
No doubt.
Seth, before we let you go, if you have one game to coach tomorrow to win in college basketball, who's your coach and why?
It's a tough one. I would pick Izzo because I've been around him when he's prepared for a game. Just one game. Now he doesn't have the roster these other guys have these days because he's not paying 20 million. But one game to prepare for one game, he'd be hard to beat. And probably my second guy would be Hurley. Hurley's he is. I'm up there all the time. Those guys are terrific. I mean,
Yep.
they really are. His preparation, how he inputs their offense and what they're doing, how they're doing it, and the reads in the summer, how he teaches it is like a clinic. I mean, watching them from the first practice in the spring to the last at practice, watching how the kids and teams grow, incredible.
No doubt about that. Seth Greenberg, a pleasure. We appreciate your time. Look forward to you continuing your outstanding broadcasting career, and have a great summer.
Timmy, we got to play golf. I need a lot of strokes. I'm an old, decrepit guy. You're still banging it down about 250 down the middle.
Anytime. Let's get together. Thanks, Seth.
All right, buddy. Appreciate it.
All right, Seth. Thank you. Seth Greenberg with Meter and the Coach. Tim, outstanding as always with Coach Greenberg and some interesting thoughts on a wide variety of topics. But as we conclude our maiden voyage on Meter and the Coach, the YouTube edition, buzzer beater, Tim. This is a
Oh,
segment that we will do at the end of each show. Any thought you want from you name it, you're thinking about it, you just throw it out there and tell me what your buzzer beater is as we end the show.
well, my buzzer beater today, there's no doubt about it, is that Jaylen Brown, stay off Twitch, stay off the feed, get in the gym, work on your left hand. I mean, what he did the other night after the Celtics lost for the first time in their storied program history, a 3-1 lead, to go on a live stream and blame the refs, say the refs should be investigated, say that refs told him he was being targeted, saying that Joel Embiid's a flopper, saying that this season, not the season 2 years ago where he was MVP of the NBA Finals, but this season where they blew a 3-1 lead was his favorite season in basketball. Where, by the way, Jason Tatum played 17 games in the regular season. So all of that is just a horrendous look. If you feel that way, fine. Tell it to your boys. Tell it to your wife. Tell it to your family. We don't want to hear it. Anybody. Basketball analysts, basketball coaches, fellow players have come out already. The media has come out. The league has fined him. And it's just an embarrassment to the great organization, to the ownership, to Brad Stevens, to Rich Gotham, the president, to Joe Mazzulla. It's just a disgrace for you to talk that way. I mean, take it like a champion that you are and you have been. Go back and say we need to be better. We will be better. We're going to be back. You know, they did a lot of great things this year, the Celtics, but that was a low point for me in watching the Celtics. How he took the defeat and tried to twist it around. And basically, Jeff Teague said it yesterday on the Rich Eisen show. He's a sore loser, and I can't agree more.
All right, Tim, from the Celtics, we go to the Red Sox. You and I, in our former radio show lives on WEI 103.7, talked a lot about the Red Sox. You loved it when I talked about the Red Sox. You agonized with me from Alex Cora's firing, which I was all in on. I think Alex Cora was vastly overrated. I do think they needed to change there. I don't love the way it was handled necessarily. I thought the timing was a little awkward. Everything about the Red Sox is awkward now, and that's the problem. You think about the last 25 years when they went through such a renaissance with Theo and Lucchino and the entire organization, and everybody was all in. They're not all in anymore. You don't have to be, you know, Carl Ravitch or a baseball insider or Tom Verducci to know they're not all in anymore. It's frightening from a fan's perspective that you're paying $170 a game for a ticket, and you go to Fenway and you're surrounded by Astros fans and you're surrounded by Yankees fans, Dodgers fans, and whoever comes in. That's fine, but you're also disgusted leaving there. I had that experience a couple days ago when I was at Fenway. I go a lot. I enjoy baseball. I love baseball more than anybody, but I am frightened. I guess that's a strong word, but disgusted by the organizational direction right now of the Red Sox. They're not spending the money the way they should spend the money. You can tell me all you want about their top 10 payroll. They're not investing in guys that they should invest, like right-handed power hitters, like offense. Good job of the pitching, but now it's hurt. They invested in Suarez. They invested in Crochet. You need more offense. They can't hit. Last two nights, notwithstanding against a bad Detroit team, I guess a little sign of life there, but it could be a very long summer. It's trending that way. Hopefully, they figure this out, Tim, and figure out that they actually should be a top five organization in baseball again.
Well, it's kind of been trending that way for a while, and I think you've hit the rock bottom this year. You had a manager that wasn't invested, didn't want to deal with the younger players, who's been battling the GM, and let's face it, the roster is putrid. I mean, it's not a big time roster. They didn't put a lot of thought into it. They thought they could mix and match some of the pieces, and this is what you have. But I feel bad for the Bostonians, you included. A long summer, no Celtics, no Bruins, and now facing this. Oh my goodness! When's the U.S. Open golf? Let's get Billy Andrade on.
He will be on with us. No question. You and I will be continuing this extravaganza. We'll be on every other week. We thank Angel Martinez. Angel, go ahead and introduce yourself. You're the man who pulls the trigger here.
Thank you guys both, first of all, more than anything, and for Coach Seth for taking the time for coming on. But yep, Angel Martinez here with Coastal Sports Digital Network here in Florida. And can't thank both of these gentlemen enough for coming on. And I feel like, I know I should never say, but I feel like an Uber fan when it's greatness that's in front of you. And you get to have fun listening to you two guys going along with Seth and the back and forth. Like, I honestly feel like running through a wall at this point, just with what Coach was saying. So thank you guys. I do appreciate the time, and I can't wait to do this again come 2 weeks from now.
Thank you.
You're
Angel,
welcome.
thank you. This is the man, Angel Martinez, for those of you who are New England fans out there. He worked with Pete Shepard for many years, so that's going to be worth something, right, Tim?
Absolutely. Hopefully, get Pete on with us at one point.
Yes, yes. Pete will be he's on the docket. We have many guests, many wish lists, but we will
Well,
look forward to our
great
next show in
beginning.
a couple
Thanks
of
to
weeks.
Seth and you guys for putting all this together.
Thank you, Tim. He's the coach, Tim Welsh. I'm Jon Meterparel, producer Angel Martinez. Special thanks to Seth Greenberg from ESPN. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you again in a couple of weeks on Meter and the Coach.